Hello, I'm Joe Corso. The video you're about to watch is the information that was presented at the special employee meetings held July 12th and 13th. The meetings weren't well attended, unfortunately, so we've decided to make the message available to all employees on video cassette. Today, I'd like to describe the current state of our company. I'd like to introduce plans for the future and tell you how I think we can successfully reach the future at McLouth. I hope that when this video is over, that all employees that watch it will have a greater understanding of the issues and the opportunities facing our company today. I also hope that it leaves you with a desire to make our company great again. And I say great again because there's no doubt that this was once a great company. McLouth was known for its innovativeness and creativeness in the industry for years. And unfortunately, something happened over the last several years. I know that most McLouth employees care about the company. But I also know that sometimes as you drive to work, you wonder if anybody else does. The broken windows, decaying buildings. Does anyone else even know that we exist? I have to admit that I've had those feelings myself sometimes as I've driven through the plant. Well, I want you to know something. People do care. And it's been made very clear to me as I've become a part of McLouth and a part of the community. First of all, it's important to know that your neighbors care. Whether they're the policeman next door, or if they work at Detroit Edison, or the local barber shop, or grocers, or auto workers, or whatever, they care because McLouth is a part of their community, and they're pulling for us to succeed. Our suppliers care also, and not just because they sell things to us. They care because they know us and they want us to succeed because they're part of us. I can tell you that our board of directors cares. You know the state cares. And in a very, very big way, our customers care. In every case, it's not just because they have something at stake, but it's become clear to me that you're a part of them. And they want you to succeed. So don't feel alone when you enter those gates, as you might be prone to do sometimes. Behind the scenes, know that there are thousands of people just like you and me who know what we're trying to accomplish, know that it's difficult, and they're pulling for us. Know that. However, with all of that support, things just haven't been that good at McLouth over the last several years. And we've been in a survival mode. And a survival mode is not where we want to be. Now, I don't like dwelling on the past, but I think it's important to reflect on where we're coming from today as we try to enter into the future. The past 2 years have been a real drain on our company. If you look at the slide that's on the screen, you see the results from 1992 and 1993. In 1992, McLouth lost nearly $31 million. And in 1993, $20.5 million, for a total of $51.4 million over 2 years. This next slide shows the sources of the money that kept us in business over the last couple years. Remember back last year when vendor concessions and employee wage concessions of 25% were asked for? Well, the suppliers saved us $15 million with that 25% concession. Employees' wage concessions saved another $4 million. And as you read down the list, you see that the one-week pay concession in March of '92 saved $1.2 million. Increase in our Congress loan saved us $2 million. We sold land to Waste Management, and that gave us $8.5 million. The loan from the state, $5 million. Demolition project proceeds, nearly $1 million. And then increasing the time that it takes us to pay vendors, in other words, just stringing them out on the amounts that we owe them, has contributed another $12.5 million. Add in the deferred taxes and others, and you see that the cash sources of $51.4 million are essentially the dollars that we needed to survive through the last 2 years. But with results like these, our continued reliance on others has created a lot of doubting Thomases, both within and outside of McLouth. For example, I'm going to show you a slide that's going to be a little bit busy and difficult to read. But what it is a page from a very thick book that describes the steel industry going to the year 2000. And it backs up to 1988. This slide is one sheet which shows the integrated steel companies in the United States on the left-hand side, and by year, the actual tonnages through 1993, and then projections for 94, 95, 96, 7, and then the year 2000. I'm going to blow up one section of this, the section on McLouth only, and I'll show you what really caught my eye and bothered me, and I'm sure that it's going to bother you. As you look at this next slide, you see that their prediction for McLouth is by the year 1996, McLouth's production will be at 0. That's a way of saying that McLouth will be out of business. I say they don't know what they're talking about, and we'll be here in the year 2000 and beyond. And I hope you say the same thing. But you know, we do have a stigma in this company and in the community, and we must get over it. And we've created that stigma. That stigma is exemplified when a new arrival comes, and I was one just a few months ago. All too often, the standard answer to questions like, why isn't that machine working? Why isn't production up? Welcome to McLouth. Why can't we get parts? Welcome to McLouth. Why is the overtime so high? Welcome to McLouth. This is an indictment of our company and of ourselves that we must stop, and you know, only you and I can stop it. Today I want to tell you about a rare window of opportunity that's open to us by this strong steel market that we have out there today. If we can take advantage of this market, we can be a different company than we've been over the last several years. For instance, we've got a market right now that has allowed steel prices to raise dramatically since 1992. This graph will show you where steel prices have come from beginning in 1992 on the left and going through the most recent period in the second quarter of 1994. You can see that in 1992 our prices were at $330 a ton, slightly over that. Beginning of 1993, they actually went down and almost touched $330 a ton. That's an average of all of our product shipped out of the plant, $330 a ton. As the market began to firm up, we saw our prices rise, and you can see that in '94, as we began the year, our prices went over $390 a ton, and are currently, in May, they were at $406 a ton. Now, several experts are predicting that this steel market is going to last. Some say it's going to last at least another 12 months. Some say as long as 2 years. To me, that's the window of opportunity that we have. In my years in the steel business, I've never seen a period of time where the financial community outside and the steel market have been together in terms of this kinds of strength. And that's the opportunity that we have to grasp a hold of and take and run with. We can't let this opportunity pass us by. Now, while we've had several months of profitability, the other side of that is our costs. And I'm going to show you what's happened to our costs over this same period of time. Our costs in 1992 through the same period last month are charted on this next sheet. As you can see, in 1992, we averaged $383 a ton. You'll also see on the bar chart that we hit a high of over $400 a ton in the third quarter of '93, and currently in the second quarter of this year, just ended, we were right about $400 a ton. Well, you can see that those costs have severely cut into any opportunity that was created by increased prices. Now, our costs are made up of several elements. And what I'd like to do in the next few slides is show you those elements, the four major elements: raw materials, labor, supplies and repairs, and finally energy, that make up 100% of our costs of hot band, so that you understand where the costs come from. Now, first of all, raw materials. As an integrated company, McLouth is reliant on raw materials including coke and ore and limes for the blast furnace, scrap, alloys, and these costs represent 55%, or just under that, of the cost of producing a hot band at McLouth Steel. Now, while it looks from this bar chart as though these costs are in control, that is, at least in this year, they're not higher than they were in '92, I can tell you they're still too high. They're too high because many of our competitors that are either in the integrated steel business or these mini mills that are starting up are producing their raw steel at much less than we're producing it, as displayed by this chart. We have to get our costs down, and all we have available to us is our ability to work with our suppliers, our ore suppliers, our coke suppliers, look for alternatives, and be able to hope that we can arrive at a partnership between us that will allow us to be competitive. And competitive is the name of the game. This next slide is going to show our labor costs, which have gone up $17 per ton since 1992. Now, $17 a ton, you ask, how can that be? You know, my wages don't seem to have gone up that much since 1992, if at all. Well, wages have increased an average of $1.50 an hour since 1992. The benefit side has risen 78 cents per hour, and the biggest hourly increases have occurred in the areas of overtime, health insurance, and workers' compensation. And workers' compensation is an area where we are 3 to 4 times higher than the rest of the industry. It's an area we have a tremendous opportunity to take some money out of a wasted cost and put it back into our employees and in our operation. But the biggest factor in control of labor cost is always man-hours per ton. The man-hours that we work to produce a ton of steel that leaves our gate. Now, our competitors and other integrated mills are driving to get down below 3 man-hours per ton. And you've all read the same print that I've read about the mini mills, which are down at 2 man-hours per ton and 1. As an integrated mill making the products that we make and serving the customers that we make, we're going to have difficulty getting down to anything like that. But we certainly can be competitive with those that are striving at the 3 man-hours per ton. Now, there's 2 ways to do that, because there's 2 elements in man-hours per ton. The first is man-hours, so you could reduce man-hours. But the second is the important one, and the second one, tons, is the way I'd prefer to do it. If we can take the man-hours that we put into our production and produce more tons, then we lower that cost and we become more effective. And you know what? In the end, we become competitive. Now, the next piece of the pie is supplies and repairs. The first section, when I talked about raw materials, I said represents over 50% of the cost of a hot band. Labor cost is about 21%, and supplies and repairs are about 19%. So you can see in the supplies, repairs, the labor element, and the raw materials, we represent an awfully large part of the cost of producing a hot band at McLouth. Now, our cost per ton for supplies and repairs, as shown on this chart, represents 2 things: too much waste and an ineffective maintenance program. Those are things that we can control. Those are things we have to control. And we know that we've got to improve our maintenance. We've got to put a plan in place that allows us to improve the equipment to a state of repair that allows the operators to run and know that it's going to run when they want it to, and allows maintenance people to take proper care of the equipment. And that's what we're striving to put in place right now. Now, the last major component is energy, and I will tell you that we've seen some improvement in energy, as you can see from the bar chart. But I think we can do better. I know we can do better. And as we move on, we will be looking at the energy costs as well. 1994 prices and costs have combined to give us a profit for the first half of this year. Now, that's the good news, and that's the news that we've been promoting to the outside world. And you've seen some articles in the paper that describe McLouth in perhaps a different tenor than you have seen them described in most recent years. That's important that we do that. It's important that the outside world views McLouth as a continuing, improving company, a company that can stand on its own 2 feet, because we can be that kind of a company. You recognize the opportunities as insiders that have been lost, however, because as we've had these profits through the first part of the year, they could have been double from what you see on the chart. Now, also on the right hand of this chart, you see our performance in June. And unfortunately, after several months in a row of profitable performance and demonstrating that we can make a plan, you see that in June, we lost $1.3 million. At $1.3 million will come off of the 3.1 to yield us a first half of the year profit at McLouth of just under $2 million, which is very unfortunate. But there were lots of reasons for that, and you know them as well as I do. We had difficulty with shipments. We had a big month in May where our customers were taking the steel out, and then in June they slacked off somewhat. We had some production problems, which probably contributed in total something like $800,000 negative to our balance sheet, or to our profit and loss statement. And those are the elements that we have to begin to control. Now, the next two slides demonstrate the importance of tons to a company like McLouth. Now, in both cases, on both of the slides, we've used the same May shipping price that was the actual price that we had in May, and we've assumed that we produced enough steel to maintain a flow of shipments through the plant. That is, inventories didn't go up or down. We produced the cast tons, rolled them, put them through whatever facilities, and shipped them. In this first case, you can see the results of making and shipping 90,000 tons. At 90,000 tons shipments, with a price of $406.45 a ton, you can see that we make $1.7 million. $1.7 million in a month. Now look at the bottom of this chart, and you'll see the daily concast tons that are required to flow this amount of steel through our plant. It's 3,342 tons a day, and that's less than 32 heats a day. Now, if we can make more, we can ship more, because the mills have greater capacity than our steel making does. The next slide shows what happens when we only can ship 80,000 tons in a month. As you can see, even in today's price world, we lose money at this level. Our sales go down to 32 million. Our costs come down also, but not enough, and we wind up losing $100,000 roughly from operations. Now note, this is again at the same high selling price, and note the caster tons. It requires 3,086 tons a day to flow that amount of material through the plant. In other words, we're talking about a difference between making $1.7 million a month and losing $100,000 at these levels of a couple heats a day through the caster. A couple heats a day represents success or failure for McLouth, and that's how sensitive our business is to tonnage. Now, obviously, our results are heavily dependent on the price of steel, since many of our costs are fixed, including labor costs. The next slide shows what would happen if the price of steel were to drop to just $388 per ton. Now, this visual shows both levels. At 90,000 tons, we stand to just break even, and that's at $388 a ton. At the same price producing 80,000 ton shipments, we lose over $1.5 million a month. Now I ask you, what kind of a company is McLouth? Is it a 90,000 ton company, or is it an 80,000 ton company? If we're an 80,000 ton company, then we are going to be forced to dramatically change our cost structure, change the elements that go in to be able to produce and ship those 80,000 tons, because we're going to lose money even in today's market. Maybe we have to get rid of the whole hot metals area. I don't know. I hope not. I prefer to improve our operation reliability, our yields, our quality, so that we can become competitive at 80,000 tons. And we can do it, even when the price of steel drops. And you know the price of steel is going to drop. We'll go back to that overhead that I showed earlier on the price of steel. Remember this? $388 a ton, the level at which we just break even at 90,000 and lose $1.5 million at 80,000 tons a month shipments, is the level that we were selling steel at just last year. Look back at the beginning of 1993, $330 a ton. What can we do about this? How do we prepare for the next downturn, whenever it comes? How do we get our company in a position so it's not just day-to-day survival, but that we're a company that has viability, has a future? We can make that happen. We can make that happen. What is the plan? Well, it's pretty simple on paper, but it's going to require every caring McLouth employee to make it work, believe me. And here's the plan in 3 steps. The first step is to improve operations reliability. We need to put together an improved maintenance plan. We need to standardize our best practices out in the mill, in every operation, and we need to enhance our employees' skills. Now, when we accomplish step 1, we'll be able to regularly meet our business plan, and that's what people on the outside world are looking for us to do. They want to know that we can do what we say we're going to do. Step 2, we need to improve quality and our cost capabilities. We need to do that by upgrading our existing equipment, by adding some technological changes to existing equipment, and by having some minor capital investment in our company. When we can accomplish step 2, we will have improved competitiveness. We'll be able to compete with those people that are trying to eat our lunch. Those people are trying to take our customers and make them their customers. We'll be able to stay in this game. Finally, to have a future at McLouth, we need to improve our long-term viability. How do we do that? That's step 3. We have to invest in process improvements, in profit enhancements, and yes, in fact, in capital growth. And you have to remember, we don't have a lot of time. We only have 12 to 18 months to accomplish this. Now, to accomplish step 1 in this planned process, what we need to do is to keep making a profit and invest the money we earn into our equipment so that we can bring it back into some state of reliability. That's what we've been about over the last several months. And if we could stop fighting fires and get at those improvements that we need to make, we can accomplish that step and move on to step 2. But to reach step 2, we have to improve our yield, our quality, and our reliability. That leads to the question, what's it going to cost? The answer is about $15 to $20 million. Finally, to have a future at McLouth, we need to improve our long-term viability. How do we do that? That's step 3. We have to invest in process improvements, in profit enhancements, and yes, in fact, in capital growth. And you have to remember, we don't have a lot of time. We only have 12 to 18 months to accomplish this. We hope to interest a bank or some other lending institution in loaning us money. If we can get the money, I'll show you how we intend to spend it. This next visual is an up-to-date wish list of the areas where the money would go. I'd like to see some of these projects, by the way, begin by the 4th quarter of this year and have as much of it completed by the summer of next year as possible. Now, this is a no priority list. It's really a list that's created from the front end of the process all the way back. First of all, we have to put in mist eliminators for the blast furnace gas. We need to improve and rebuild, in fact, one of the blast furnace stoves. We need stove controls. We need BOP gas cleaning improvements, ladle metallurgy improvements, OP vessel and drive improvements. We need concast tundish upgrades and concast mold improvements. We'd like to put money into the concast cut-to-length equipment. At the hot mill, we need to improve the loopers. We need a hot mill AGC on 6-stand at least, and we need to work and do a lot of work on the main drives and the screw downs. We need the rougher strain gauge, and we need to complete the crop shear upgrade. We need to replace the turbo generator control and insulate the main steam lines around the plant. We hope to replace the 5-inch milling machine, rebuild the coil conveyor. We would like to modernize the roll grinder at Gibraltar, install tandem mill speed and tension control, skin mill extensiometer. We'd like to study hydrogen annealing and possibly even begin to do some hydrogen annealing. And we'd like to eliminate the Gibraltar boilers. Now, what about step 3? What's needed for that? What's it take? Well, all I can say is it takes a lot. What's a lot? It could be $150 to $200 million. But as I look at our company, where it is in the heart of the best steel market in the world, located on the Detroit River with access to railroads, with access to highways, and access to the best market that you can have. And I think about the companies that are spending $400 million in some cornfield in middle Indiana to build a steel mill right now, and they don't even have a customer base. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think that McLouth is a place where somebody ought to be willing and in fact anxious to invest $150 to $200 million. Now, where would that money be spent? What we have here is a current list of the large improvement items which can make our company, McLouth Steel, the very best in its class. What's it look like? Well, we'd either upgrade the blast furnace and the BOPs, or we'd need to consider a new electric furnace steelmaking operation to provide the steel for the casting. I believe we need upgrade of the 3 existing casters plus the addition of a new 4th caster. We need improvements to ladle metallurgy. We need solid state controls at the hot mill. And I think we need the addition of a coil box to the hot mill. Obviously, numerous miscellaneous equipment changes and additions so that we can gain gauge control in the mill. We need to put in a new pickle line at Gibraltar, one that can pickle not just our product for cold roll, but our product for hot roll as well. And we need to convert the tandem mill to an upgraded continuous mill, and who knows, perhaps even combine the pickle line with the tandem mill and make it continuous process throughout. We need hydrogen annealing at Gibraltar to increase our capabilities there for cold roll. And we need numerous upgrades to the temper mill. We need a new roll blaster at Gibraltar, and we obviously need environmental control projects so that we can be a good and conscientious neighbor to the community around us. Just dreaming? I don't think so. But where will the money come from? Well, at McLouth, I think we have 4 options available to us. First of all, we need to generate profits from our operations. And that provides us all sorts of things. It provides us the reliability, the credibility, the reason for people to want to invest. Secondly, we can increase the bank loans. And bank loans will be available to us if we have the first part taken care of. The third part is all that equipment that we will be investing in the plant, those suppliers are willing to finance that equipment for us. And that's going to be an important part of our moving forward. And the fourth part, and an indispensable part, is investments from the outside. Now, I hope you're asking yourself, how are we going to interest somebody in investing in this little company, this company with the record that it's had? Well, I think we can. It's not going to be easy, but it starts by proving that we're a reliable company, by proving that we can be competitive, and by showing that we're a company of people that care about our customers and care about our future. Now, I can't guarantee you that if we do those 3 things, that we prove that we're reliable, competitive, and that we're a caring group, that we're going to be able to go on with step 3. I wish I could, but I can guarantee one thing. If we don't do it, if we cannot become reliable, if we're not competitive in this industry that we operate, and if we can't be a caring group of people that care about our future, it can't happen at all. I believe in this vision. I believe in McLouth, and I believe in the people of McLouth. And I'm not going to stop believing until I'm proven wrong. When all of us start believing in this vision and in ourselves, that little phrase that we talked about before that had a whole different meaning and does today can mean something totally different to all of us in the future. Thanks for your attention. Let's all pull together to make this vision work.